Imagine you just inherited the actual legal right to decide who steps onto Mount Everest and what they pay you for it. And before you start picturing a ticket booth and a sunrise viewing fee, the thing you now own kills roughly 1 out of every 100 people who try to reach its summit, and the entry price already costs as much as a down payment on a house. Welcome to the world's highest, deadliest toll booth. So, what does it even mean to own this place? What you actually own is a single narrow corridor up the southeast side, an access route the Nepali government turned into a monopoly license. Your entire revenue stream is the right to walk up one ridge during one tiny weather window each year. A few days in May when the jet stream lifts just enough that a person can stand at the top without dying in minutes. The rest of the year, your mountain is a frozen, uninhabitable rock that eats helicopters. But here's the detail the ownership papers never spell out. You have a co-owner, and it is the government that sold you the license. Your monopoly is really a high-altitude franchise agreement where the state controls your inventory, sets the base price, and can rewrite the rules overnight. The Nepali government charges every foreign climber $11,000 for a permit, and that number is not fixed. It has been jacked up sharply in recent years specifically to claw back more of the value you are extracting. In 2024, the Supreme Court ordered a permit cap after years of overcrowding headlines, and the government now openly floats raising the fee to $15,000 or even $20,000. Your margin is not just whatever you charge, it is whatever the state leaves you. And the state inserts itself into your operation with the liaison officer system. Every expedition is legally required to bring a government-appointed officer to base camp. You pay his salary, his gear, his food. He is there to monitor you. In practice, he often never leaves base camp at all. You are paying a state minder to watch you run your own asset. And if the government decides your season is too dangerous or too politically embarrassing, it can pull the plug before you sell a single permit. Even that short season, when it actually happens, is an operational nightmare. The route is a vertical obstacle course of shifting ice that gets rebuilt from scratch every spring. Before one paying customer clips in, a workforce of Sherpas and high-altitude workers has to rope and ladder the Khumbu Icefall, a moving river of broken glacier that slides apart daily, then haul every liter of oxygen, every tent, every meal up by hand at their own risk. Your entire product sits on the backs of a crew that strings a path through a crevasse field. So unstable, the most famous section is crossed on a few aluminum ladders strapped together. And if someone falls in, you're the one paying to get them out. If the body stays above 8,000 meters, it tends to stay forever, unless you pay someone to carry it down. Now, where does the money actually come from? The climbing permit is just the cover charge. Get this, the real money machine lives in the gap between what the client pays and what the worker earns. A wealthy climber hands an expedition company anywhere from $35,000 to over $100,000 for the full package. The Western outfitter that markets the dream, handles logistics, and banks the margin. Meanwhile, the Sherpa fixing your ropes, carrying the oxygen, and guiding that client through the death zone earns roughly $5,000 a season. They both face the same lethal air and the same bottleneck at 28,000 feet. One person paid $65 grand, the other makes enough to support a family for a year. Now that $5,000 figure is not one flat rate, it is the entry tier of a labor pyramid that you rely on to function, and the gaps inside it are almost as sharp as the gap between client and worker. A rookie Sherpa porter hauling loads to Camp 1 might earn $3,000 to $4,000 a season. A mid-level climbing Sherpa who fixes ropes through the Icefall earns $5,000 to $8,000. But an elite summit Sherpa with 10 or more Everest summits, the one guiding the highest paying client and making the final push, can command $10,000 to $15,000. Still a fraction of what the customer paid, but several times what the porters earn. And that summit Sherpa often hires younger relatives as porters, taking a cut of their earnings. So the gap is not just Sherpa versus Westerner, it is Sherpa versus Sherpa, with the most lethal work concentrated at the bottom, where the pay is lowest. The single most critical line item in your entire operation is the Icefall doctors, the specialists who build and maintain the ladder system through the most lethal section. Without them, you cannot move a single client. In 2014, a Serac collapse killed 16 of them and shut down the entire season. Their wages are not just a labor cost, they are the heartbeat of your mountain. If they vanish, your revenue goes to zero. And here is the uncomfortable truth behind all those wages. Your entire workforce is built on a training pipeline you never built and never paid for. Before a Sherpa ever sets foot on your route, they typically spend years working lower, less famous peaks. Amadablam, Manaslu, Cho Oyu, building the technical skills and the altitude tolerance that make them employable on Everest. That is unpaid apprenticeship, carrying loads for family members, learning rope work on peaks that pay a few $100s, gradually proving themselves to expedition operators who control access to the Everest jobs. Many Sherpas fund their own gear, their own insurance, their own travel to base camp, and the physical toll is cumulative. By the time a Sherpa has summited your mountain 5 or 10 times, their body has spent months above 8,000 meters, with frostbite damage, respiratory strain, and long-term altitude effects that no insurance policy covers. Your business model extracts value from a training system you did not invest a single dollar in building. That bottleneck the whole world saw went viral in 2019, when a photo of a human traffic jam on the summit ridge shot around the world. Dozens of climbers in a conga line through the death zone, burning bottled oxygen while they wait their turn. That queue exists because you, the owner, oversold permits, and everyone stuck in that line is breathing borrowed time. It's a grim little operation that turns your mountain into a congested toll road where the wait itself can kill you. Pull that thread and you find the things the brochure never mentions. Here's what the tourists never see. The trail is marked by a dead man. For nearly 20 years, a climber known as Green Boots lay curled in a limestone alcove on the northeast ridge. His body became a waypoint. Guides would say, once you pass the Green Boots, you're about 3 hours from the top. Hundreds of your customers walked past a human corpse and used it to gauge how much farther they had to go. A dead climber was your most reliable summit marker for 2 decades. And you'd never guess it, but that's a real asset on a mountain with no road signs. Second, your mountain has a frozen sewage problem, and you're going to charge people to solve it. Climbers deposit roughly 12 tons of human waste at high camps every year, and at that altitude it never decomposes. It freezes into the landscape, then thaws into the water supply downstream. Your response? A mandatory deposit of around $4,000 per team for rubbish and waste. The climber gets part of it back only if they carry their own excrement down in a biodegradable bag. You are now in the business of refunding $4,000 for a bag of frozen human waste. That is not on the postcard. Third, when a client dies in the death zone, the body rarely comes down on its own. Retrieving it takes a team of Sherpas, supplemental oxygen, and days of brutal high-risk labor, often more dangerous than a standard summit push. Bringing a loved one home cost a grieving family $40,000 to over $100,000. It's a side business you never asked for but absolutely exists. Dead customer retrieval, paid for by the next of kin, carried out by the same workers who risked their lives putting the client up there in the first place. A Sherpa who anchors the rope line in the oxygen-starved death zone, who carries twice his body weight and might die hauling a stranded client down, earns about $5,000 a season. The client he's guiding spent $65,000 or more. When disaster hits, like the 1996 storm that trapped teams in the death zone, a Sherpa lost his life trying to save paying customers. The client's family got a book deal and a movie. The Sherpa's family got a fraction of that expedition fee and support. That gap is your actual profit center, the distance between the price of the dream and the cost of the life that delivers it. The entire mountain runs on upside-down risk and reward, balanced on the shoulders of the lowest paid person in the system. Now, before you get too comfortable counting your Sherpa-powered profits, there's a problem. Your whole business model depends on a stable, accessible route, and climate change is taking it apart. The Khumbu Icefall, the first and deadliest section your workers fix every year, is getting more unstable as the glacier melts. In 2014, a C-rack collapse killed 16 Sherpas and shut down the entire season. Warming projections suggest the Icefall could become commercially unusable within decades, meaning more unpredictable collapses and more slushy, treacherous crevasses. At the same time, one high-fatality year could trigger enough global outrage that Nepal finally caps permits, slashing your revenue. The window might be closing. You're extracting maximum cash now, not because it's easy, but because the mountain itself is becoming less reliable by the season. And while you are watching your ground route slowly fall apart, someone else is running a parallel fortune in the air above you. You do not own the airspace, and that means the helicopters are printing money off your mountain without paying you a cent. A single evacuation from base camp or Camp 2 costs $15,000 to $30,000, and every climber is required to carry insurance that covers it. The helicopter companies charge those rates because there is no alternative. You cannot walk down with cerebral edema. In a busy season, dozens of evacuations happen, plus routine cargo flights, ferrying oxygen bottles and gear. A well-connected operator with a couple of AS-350B3s, the only helicopters that can reliably operate at this altitude, can gross several $1,000,000 in a single spring from your mountain alone. And there is a completely separate tourism stream. Thousands of trekkers who never plan to summit pay those same companies for a mountain flight that circles Everest, your death zone that generates a helicopter gold rush, and you are not in it. Alright, since it's yours anyway, let's pull out all the stops. You've got a lethal toll booth, cheap labor, and a queue that's already killing people. So why not lean in? Meet the Summit subscription model. Summit Plus gets you priority in the rope fixing queue and a guaranteed weather slot for an extra 50 grand. Summit Plus Plus includes a personal Sherpa whose only job is to hold your place in the death zone line while you rest at a lower camp. A literal human placeholder so the rich can skip the queue at 28,000 feet. Next, the Express Toll Lane. Physically install a turnstile at the Hillary step. Standard permit holders wait. Oxygen depleting, as they always have. Platinum card holders tap a contactless reader, and a dedicated Sherpa unfurls a private rope. Congestion pricing for your last few breaths. And for the truly obscene fee, the Helicopter Anywhere package. Fly a client from Kathmandu straight to a high camp, as high as the rotors can physically operate, so they only climb the final few thousand feet. On the way down, a long-line helicopter scoops them from the western sea to Boem. Skip the mountain to climb the mountain. The ultimate VIP lane. The most majestic place on Earth is the one where you can charge a man's entire net worth to wait in the world's deadliest line and then charge him extra to skip it. Now stop reading the brochure and go count your permits.